Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. My name is Christina. This is the extended for the Twin Flame Divine Masculine reading that's already been posted on YouTube, so go watch that first and then come back here. So we're continuing on with the story of like how you can shift your focus. Perhaps you're feeling, well, right now, it feels like right now you're sort of in this energy of perhaps having to sort through just like your own thoughts or experiences is kind of how it's feeling, or past heartbreak that you're getting over is kind of how it seems, and putting something together in order to move towards something or an opportunity that you are absolutely desiring, right? And it's you have here the Knight of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune, which I love so much, because this Knight of Swords and the King of Swords, because the King of Swords in the current energy was in reverse, right? So it's moving, it's shifting these energies. The King of Swords in reverse can be, I'm getting the word cruel, even though I feel like that's kind of a little bit extreme, but it is coming out with the shark, right? So there's that sort of like sharpness energy that's coming through. Perhaps there was some sort of words exchanged, or just like conflict of some sort, or, well, because the King of Swords in reverse is very silent, right? They don't say anything. Perhaps there's like some sort of planning, or, but it's also non-action, right? So I feel like there's this energy here of the Knight of Swords, which talks about communication. It's sort of putting the King of Swords upright in this stance, like, because look how similar these cards are. But in sort of an attempt or effort to move forward or clarify something, or just be communicative in some way. But with this Knight of Swords, there may be sort of this worry of like not being able to find the right words. There's also something here about like, because the Knight of Swords does move forward really quickly, and sometimes that could be too hasty, right? There could be some sort of like, so you may be feeling like you don't want to say the wrong thing, or not to sort of move forward without thinking it through for a really long time, or just like being really careful with your words, perhaps. And with the Wheel of Fortune, because the Wheel of Fortune to me always talks about like there is a sort of divine timing aspect here that is playing out. So there could be something in there for you where it's like you're waiting for the right time, or like you can't, this message has to be delivered on a certain date or a certain time, or it's kind of, I'm laughing because the Divine Feminine reading had so much energy in it, and I knew exactly what the message was and how to deliver it. And for your reading today, for like the Divine Masculine reading, the words aren't coming as swiftly. I'm pausing a lot. There's a lot of sort of uncertainty. I'm not exactly sure how to deliver the message. That's kind of how this energy is feeling. And it's almost like waiting it out to sort of see if the words or the clear plan of action will reveal itself. Perhaps there's that aspect, but I feel like you are working towards that, or that should be your focus, or how to shift your focus is like actually, because the 7 and 8 of Pentacles, the 7 talks about you've planted the seeds and waiting for them to grow, right? Doing the actual preparation. Whereas the 8 of Pentacles talks about actually sort of harvesting those seeds that you've already planted, right? It's doing the work, collecting the rewards. But because of this one, it's like putting the final puzzle piece in place, right? Putting the final piece in place. And then what you have here is the High Priestess. So I feel like this is the person that you were trying to approach, because it's coming out like this. Hold on. I don't know, it's looking confused or backwards. Moving towards this one, right? And it's like, I feel like because they're coming through with this buffalo energy, I feel like you're anticipating that it's going to be difficult, or that there's anger or uncomfortable energy within this conversation or dynamic or something. And that may absolutely be true. But it's kind of like it's encouraging you to choose that option anyway, because you've done the other option before. You've been in that place before, and it didn't lead to anything positive. And it's sort of like asking you to pick the new option, even if there's discomfort, right? Because I feel like there's also discomfort here of like, this one can see you coming. They can see, they've received some sort of information that you are about to approach, and perhaps that's putting you in the spotlight with this otter. It's like they can somehow anticipate what it is you're going to say, or when you're going to, I don't know. There's some sort of energy here of like, you're feeling put on the spot, and perhaps that's catching your tongue in some way, right? It's like a cat got your tongue kind of energy. Okay, anyways, we're moving on. I'm going to leave that energy behind. Where is an area of growth for you? I want to say Capricorn for some reason. Maybe you have a Capricorn in your life or in your chart. Okay, we have here the bear, the frog, and the hawk. So the bear talks about coming out of hibernation, if you've been in that state. The frog talks about an open exchange, right? Being vulnerable. It's because the frog talks about sort of the integration between water and earth. I'm really struggling with my words here for this reading for some reason. The integration between water and earth. And the hawk talks about sending a message. And the thing about the frog is that it does require an open exchange, or like wearing your heart on your sleeve, that kind of expression, because in terms of water and earth, it's talking about like sharing what it is that you're going through, or sharing some sort of emotional kind of message with the hawk as well, because that talks about forward movement. And I feel like moving towards is kind of shifting this buffalo energy, because I feel like there's a discomfort with this buffalo that you're feeling, some sort of it feels like anger, even though this one doesn't really feel like, I feel like this is a very positive. I always normally have a very positive response to the buffalo, is like being able to withstand a lot of sort of turbulent energy in your environment. It's like this one is going to persevere and stand strong and be resilient in sort of any circumstance that you can bring to them, because it feels like you're trying to share something with them that is going to feel uncomfortable for you, perhaps, and perhaps uncomfortable for them as well. But the thing that wants to be shifted is like, can you see this one as being a gazelle instead of a buffalo? Because the gazelle talks about presence, right? Very like sort of be here now presence, and absolute sort of peace and grace and stability and confidence in the situation. Because the buffalo is that as well, right? The buffalo has all of that energy in it of like being here now, being really present, being absolutely sort of strong, and has a firm stance is kind of how it's coming through. But the gazelle is a bit like there's less sort of anger there. And that could be where the compassion card is coming through. I feel like, first of all, like bring compassion into the situation. Compassion for them, perhaps, if they have, because it's a deja vu moment. It may be that you've tried to have this conversation before, and perhaps there was just anger or turbulence or thunder, that kind of thing. And it's perhaps asking you to see if you can change your approach, because if you came through with a shark energy of like really sort of cutting words that's going to trigger the buffalo. But if you come through with it as being sort of open, with the frog instead, right? Instead of the shark, you're the frog. And just that will allow this one to be sort of in more of a peaceful state is kind of how it's feeling. Anyways, I'm going to leave that there. We're moving to the Nourishment card, which I love so much, and then the Philosopher's Stone. Both of these cards came out in the Divine Feminine reading, so I would take a look at that one. But keep in mind that it may not be about you. It may be about somebody else in their life that they're kind of experiencing this, because that one felt very buffalo. It was a very sort of, not angry, but almost like having to use a lot of their intuitive sort of power and abilities in order to see what the best course of action would be. That's what their energy was. And it was coming through very strongly is why I'm struggling now in this reading, because that energy was so strongly sure of who they were, whereas this energy here feels a little bit more uncertain, right? There's a little bit less sort of clear purpose is kind of how it's feeling to me. But it's like, this is the area of growth of the Philosopher's Stone talks about having a beginner's mind, and knowing that you are working towards nourishment, right? This Nourishment card today in the Divine Feminine reading was the first time that card came out, and now it's coming out again, which is telling me that this path that you're taking, the thing that you're moving towards is absolutely moving towards nourishment, and perhaps having a beginner's mind about what that kind of nourishment is, because you're being asked to choose again, right? It's like you're starting something new, or that's what you're wanting anyway. You're coming out of this place that where it is that you're leaving is the devil energy, which is talking about like there is not nourishment in this environment. It's something that perhaps appeared to have some sort of benefit, right? It's like they were a teacher in some way, but they were like the worst teacher that you could have, and taught you a lesson that they weren't supposed, like taught you, like if it's like you have a math teacher, but the only thing that you learned from them, you didn't learn any math, you learned something else, right? So it could be that you learned that they were not an authority on math, for example. Okay, but what you're moving towards is this Nourishment Philosopher's Stone. And then you have here the Kintsugi card, which I love so much. This is the other person, because I feel like if there was, because it's coming in with the deja vu energy, this may be your second attempt at sort of having this conversation or moving towards this thing or doing something significant. And perhaps it ended in this buffalo energy before where it was kind of uncomfortable. But the Kintsugi card, which I love so much, because clearly those are the same energies of like, this one has shifted their energy in a way that it's like if they were hurt by it, they've done the healing. They've reached this sort of stage of compassion where I feel like they are understanding that you were in a difficult position and having compassion for you, but it's also asking you to have compassion for them, where they had a very strong conviction. That's what it is. A very strong conviction that something about the dynamic between the two of you was not where it could be, right? That's the stance that they're coming through, that they were in a position where their truth was such a strong conviction for them that it sort of perhaps made them come off really strong in a way that was uncomfortable for you. And I feel like that's where the compassion is needing to be for you, Divine Masculine, is like to have compassion for this one who is now sort of seeing the full picture as well. And then you have here the Nirvana card, which talks about leaving behind suffering can be as easy as just blowing out a candle, right? Like, just like letting that energy go. Because you have here the devil, right? It's like the devil energy is absolutely any sort of like pattern or stuckness or repeated behavior that keeps us from moving forward, right? And so the Nirvana card is coming out to sort of, that's the area of growth, of leave behind this pattern of behavior that is not serving you, because it's keeping you in an energy that is the opposite of nourishment. Okay. I'll leave that there. Okay. Then you have the Six of Swords and the Chariot, which I love so much together, because the Six of Swords talks about moving from a place of turbulent waters, like turbulent emotions or thoughts, and moving into a place that's much more calm and at peace. And the Chariot is also sort of that forward momentum. So moving in this direction with sort of like the coming out of hibernation, sending a message, being a open, vulnerable frog is absolutely a movement forward, right? You're moving towards this new place. There is this Two of Cups energy, which is so incredible because it talks about you and this person, you and the other who are an absolute match. You have a shared vision. It's just togetherness, right? This togetherness that you're moving towards. And then you also have, what came out next? The Three of Wands and the Ace of Swords. Because I feel like the Three of Wands talks about like sort of you're pulling in a manifestation or an idea. It's like something that you've envisioned is now arriving. There's that kind of aspect here where it's, but it's coming out with the Ace of Swords, because I feel like if there was sort of an uncomfortable conversation or words that were exchanged that just caused hurt in some way, there perhaps was truth on it for both sides, right? Both people had this sort of like truth moment where, because truth is not always easy, right? It's rarely easy. It's very rarely easy to sort of stomach if you are not prepared for it. It's kind of how this is coming through. But I feel like you, Divine Masculine, are seeing that and acknowledging it perhaps, and actually sort of doing something with that now, because you have the Knight of Swords, right? Which is like taking that truth and running with it, of being able to put that, your plans into action, moving forward, but perhaps still like feeling like I don't want to be too hasty, perhaps. And then you have here the Strength and the Star, which I love so much together, because this to me talks about healing. The Star talks about healing, but it's also bringing the energy of like going towards your North Star, of like direction and focus and purpose. Strength is the only thing that can sort of defeat the devil energy, right? It's like being able to control or shift your own behavior into something that is more empowering and towards your higher purpose or mission or healing, or the thing that you desire, because the Star also brings in like wish fulfillment, wishes granted, that kind of thing. Moving towards the Unicorn. And then you have here the Three of Coins, which talks about collaboration, right? I feel like it's like perhaps that's what you're wanting, or it's like this might be an outcome of like, if in this conversation, because all of this like circular energy, right? I feel like you're wanting to move towards somebody in order to sort of work together on some sort of goal, or just the result of the conversation will be sort of clearing energy, healing the situation of just working together and being in a harmonious sort of state. It's kind of how it's feeling, right? Okay, I'm going to end the message there. I have Moonology cards, which I will go through quickly. A time to give rather than take, the new moon in Virgo. Take time to breathe out, the disseminating moon. So I feel like that's just emphasizing like you don't have to be hasty, right? There's no rush here. There's no rush. It's kind of like there is sort of a divine timing element at play with the Wheel of Fortune, that things will sort of unfold naturally, but I feel like you do have to sort of listen to and understand what those cues are as well. That's what the High Priestess talks about, is like knowing when to act and when to rest. But because you have the Eight of Pentacles in your area of focus, is that you are the one who has to do the action. It is time to take action, is what that is talking about. But you are allowed to take time to breathe out, basically. Surrender to the divine, the full moon. And finally, a fiery climax approaches, the full moon in Aries. All right, I'm going to end it there. I do have other videos if you're interested in watching those. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.